Welcome to the SJ Child Show. This episode is sponsored by Water and Body Basics. Visit 3440 South, 5600 West, West Valley City, Utah. Mention SJ Childs today.
Hi, and welcome to the SJ Childs Show. I'm your host, SJ Childs, and today I have a very special guest. And not only because her name is also Sarah, but because she is a wonderful person who owns a yoga and wellness studio. I probably said that wrong still. Yeah, Sarah's Yoga and Wellness. So thank you so much for being here today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's going to be funny to be saying my name to to you the whole time. My name to you, right? It's funny how we do that. Take ownership. Well, mine is without an H. And I always joke with people that I'm way too extra, that they didn't need to give me an extra letter. That's my excuse. Too funny. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And I am excited to talk about what you do, maybe what got you started, and how we can help support you in your business and in what you're doing. So let's just start at the very beginning. What got you started into yoga and wellness?
Wow. So now we're going way back in time. I've been practicing for 20 years. I have been teaching for 10. And so when I first started, I just knew that it made me feel better, less stressed. I used to have back pain at the time, which is like I was 20 something and I had back pain. Now, 20 years later, my back hasn't hurt in decades.
Nice.
It's the other way around. I feel stronger, healthier, and so much better now than I did back then. So when I started, it was just for my personal growth, to be a better mom and to be a better wife, and all of the things that we're all looking for. And then it just evolved. You wanted to learn more and more and more. And so through the years, I've accumulated 5 different certifications on 5 different styles of yoga because I just love it so much. And it's so different. And I think the beauty of yoga is it can meet you where you are. And so as a teacher, I want to have a toolbox that allows me to do just that and to really customize the practice to what the student needs. That's kind of my thing.
I love that. I think that that's so amazing. And I really want to get into maybe those 5 different styles and what they consist of and everything. So that's fantastic. And then you said you moved here from New Jersey.
Yeah. So beginning of 2020, I was just guided to close. I had a big brick and mortar yoga studio over there, and I was guided to just close and kind of moved here. And so I packed my stuff up in a couple of, those U-Haul boxes. And I landed here trying to teach people like what Zoom was.
Yeah. Oh, I was just discussing that in another one yesterday, how we're so advanced in technology, yet so many people had to learn what Zoom was and master their Zoom techniques. Isn't that funny? Oh, that's great. Well, and we're so happy to have you here in Utah. And regardless, we would have been able to get your stuff online anyways. So that's fantastic. What I guess this is great too. As a mom, do you invite your kids? I mean, do they like to practice with you or how does that go?
Okay, so my kids are grown already, but when they were little and they would still listen to me.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, I remember when my daughter was a teenager, I actually took a weekly teen yoga class that I taught just so that I had an excuse for a nudge and follow. And it's so helpful for kids to have that higher level of awareness and consciousness from an early age, because if you can learn to realize that you are not your mind, you are not your emotions, you are not even your body. They are just a tool that we have to energetically improve away from fear and towards light and love, like
I
vibrationally.
love that.
Our souls need to vibrationally rise, right? And our body is just kind of like the vehicle, and your mind is like the navigation system. And I say your emotions are like your compass that tells you what's north and what's south, what's the right direction, what's the wrong direction.
Yeah.
If you learn how the system works, you can then step back and use life instead of like craving, and thinking that when you get this, you'll be happy. And when you get that, you'll be happy. And then it's never enough. And you get it. And then now you're afraid to lose it.
Yeah.
So you're stressed, right? You learn to navigate life, which is wisdom
Yeah.
and equanimity. And that can be so free. Like that's true freedom, right?
Yeah.
When you're not tied by your old negative toxic imprints and energy patterns, but you have mastered yourself, your mind, your energy system to a place where you could always keep that peace, and you don't let anything or anybody steal your peace.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I agree that just like I said with, writing children's books, giving children that emotional intelligence early on is so important so that they face things without fear, with knowledge, with love. And I agree. I couldn't agree up more 100%. It's just absolutely what we teach our kids to and what our kind of mission and values are. So I love that you said that. And yeah, what do you find like when your teen went through? What did that help her? It was a girl. What did that help her through? Maybe in her adolescent, as she was going through teenhood.
I think that it makes children more confident. So when you do yoga and you meditate, you're basically learning to go within, right? Which is kind of like the opposite of what they teach us in regular school. In regular school, it's always the world functions this way, and you have five senses: what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you see, right? And what you feel. And you got to study it, and you got to put it under a microscope, and you got to always be looking out to try and understand. And so therefore, we are kind of like wired and programmed to look for external explanations, external validation, external approval, acceptance, and whatever. When we go within and we teach a child and a teenager to listen to themselves first, to see what serves them, to feel what they feel, to listen to their needs, we are actually empowering them to not care.
Yeah.
What everybody else says or does
Love that.
or whatever, right? So I think that's the most empowering things that we can give a young soul, a young spirit, a young human.
Yeah, I agree. We taught our daughter, or my youngest, when she was really little, I always used to say, well, who do you love the most? And, at first they're like, oh, I love you, mom. And I would always say, you say, I love me first. It's always me first. You always say me first, then you can love everyone else. But if you love yourself, then you won't struggle in other relationships to be able to receive and give love also. And so it's funny, I hadn't asked her in quite a few years. It just time passes and that went away. And somebody brought it up and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask her. And I did. And I said, hey, who do you love the most? And she said, me. And then you, and then my family, and it was like, yes. I love it.
But it's the most empowering. Nowadays, in addition to yoga, I do holistic life coaching, and I work with a lot of women, because to me, you can practice all you want, but if you don't understand, it's only going to get you so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, you can understand and read all the books and listen to all the podcasts and whatever, but if you don't practice, breathe and move, then you can only And so as a matter of fact, on my programs, I do a holistic approach. But one of the things that I do during this holistic life coaching is exactly what you just said, because a lot of the times we as women, we give.
Yeah.
Of everybody and leave ourselves last. And then what happens is we feel resentful.
Yeah.
We drained, we feel tired, and we suffer a lot because of it. When something as simple as saying, I love you, but I love me more,
Mhm.
right? And I'm going to take care of me before I go way out of my way. And a lot of the times you'll be surprised that actually ends up helping, because what we do is we avoid the enabling, we avoid the codependency. When
Yeah.
we say, nope, this is my boundary, you are responsible for your reality, I'm responsible for my reality, and we don't participate and burn ourselves out doing
Yeah.
what we shouldn't be doing for other people, we actually empower them to make better decisions, to take responsibility for their choices, instead of continuously bailing people out and covering for them and whatever. And then we're not really helping. We think we are. Our ego feels very good that we have helped somebody, and we get our
Yeah.
identity from there, right? But in the long run, not only are you getting burned out and resentful, you're actually enabling negative patterns. So sometimes love is that saying,
Yeah.
and I love you so much that I'm going to let you deal with your problems.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially with teens and kids, like giving them the tools and kind of the roadmap to follow, but letting them follow it, letting them go off the road every once in a while and hitting a tree, not really, just as metaphorically. Please don't let your kids hit a tree. But yeah, if you let them fall and pick themselves back up, they're more courageous, more empowered, more able to move forward, with a confidence that they can handle things, that they can take care of things in the future. I love that.
And if they make mistakes, it's okay. They can fix them.
Yeah, exactly.
To not make, I'd rather have a teenager make a mistake at 17 and 18 than at 27 or 40.
100%. I completely understand that. We also have a 21-year-old, and I think that through parenting, we have seen that there was a lot more mistakes made, basically, and a lot more flexibility given with our next two younger ones, due to the fact that now that she's 21, we see, oh gosh, we should have let her done that when she was at home and in a safe environment, and we shouldn't have been judgmental or controlling about things. It was just this idea that me being a step parent, that I had to be perfect all the time, that I had to provide perfect parenting all the time for somebody else's child, and it was like, now that I look back, I think, it was a learning experience. There's nothing I could do differently about it, except for now learn from it and provide different types of parenting in my next younger two. So, yeah.
That's what life is all about, right? Consciously evolving instead of just drifting. And this is what I mean by when you have a different level of consciousness and you can look at things from a place of wisdom, you don't beat yourself up. You don't yep, this is the level of consciousness that I was at. Like, I had my kids very young and I made so many mistakes, and there's nothing that I can go, I can't go back in time. Otherwise,
Yeah.
And so sometimes, but then can you have the strength to still get on the right course now? And
Yes.
that's the beauty of a yoga practice and a meditation practice, that it trains you to be in the present moment. So because it's only in the present moment that we can kind of change those patterns and say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing it again. Okay, what is it I'm supposed to be doing?
Right? Where's my checklist?
Honestly, that's why I always say there's three things that you need to make real progress on the spiritual path. Number one, a teacher who is going to give you a different point of reference than your ancestors might have, because what you know is what you know. And if you knew better, you would do better. But this is the only point of reference that
I
you
love that.
right?
Yes.
So someone outside of your bubble with a different level of consciousness that can say, no, look at it this way. And what if you approach it this way? What if you think of it this way? So you need a teacher. You need a community of like-minded people, because when we come together, our minds like exponentially expand.
Yes.
right? Like the just like negativity can be expanded by thinking about it in a group, so can
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
you're trying to make real progress. You need a support. This is why in the ancient lineages, monks live in a monastery, and in religions like nuns live together and priests live together, because there's a sense of community, of being together with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
And number three, a practice, because it's the practice that trains you to be in the present moment so that you can rewire the brain and recreate these patterns. And so that's kind of what and this is something that took me years to learn. Like for a long time, I drifted from this yoga class to that yoga class, from this YouTube video to that YouTube video, from this teacher to this other teacher. And you kind of just bounce around searching and looking. But I was blessed 12 years ago to find a real teacher of light and love who trained me as a Reiki master practitioner. So I do energy healing treatments on people, and as a Reiki master teacher, I teach people how to do energy healing treatments on themselves. And it was, to this day, I still work with her, because if I'm going to do this work, I have to continuously clean my side of the street.
I love that.
And because I have been on the receiving end of that constant support and encouragement, and, I have seen the beauty of having a teacher really get to know you, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes we jump from teacher to teacher and we put on certain masks of what we see, and we don't get
excuse me,
deeper layers of healing that we could get to if we were just to stick with one teacher and one practice and stop. Sometimes I feel people like go up the mountain and then they get bored, or it gets a little hard, and they're like, okay, let me come back down, let me try this way, and then they go back up the mountain.
Interesting.
It gets difficult. Now they begin to project, and it takes a lot of discipline to actually like stay with a teacher, and it takes a lot of discipline for them. Like as a teacher, I always tell my students, like, to work with me, I have like a minimum 90-day commitment, and then after that I have 12-month programs. And so they oftentimes, I'm like, oh my god, like this is such a long time. I'm like, because first of all, it's going to go by like this.
Yes.
And second, it's like the minimum that you need.
Yeah.
You have to realize, when I'm asking you for that commitment as a student, I'm committing to you as a teacher.
That's a lot. That's a lot of commitment.
Yes, and it's not that easy to find a spiritual teacher who like walks the path for real, dedicates their life to this, and can actually have the strength and the, stamina and the courage to be there for you that entire time. So the only reason I have it to give is because I've been blessed to receive it.
Yeah.
And that, therefore, I take it as a very serious responsibility. Like, I interview a student very carefully before they sign up, because I'm like, this is no joke. This is not like any other yoga or yoga teacher training program that you're going to do out there. This is like for real. And, it's not all tulips and butterflies. It's going to take some work of going through those layers of uncovering those patterns and then having the energy to shift them.
Yeah.
I like to use this slinky. It's like we are here, and then we have all of our past stuff, and then we have all of our, and only here can we decide, do we go this way or do we go that?
Oh, wow. So true.
Then healing happens in layers, I tell them. It's like when you think you're there, there's just another layer.
That's the truth.
You need like that support and that encouragement, and so go into those steps themselves. So a teacher can only take you as deep as they have gone themselves. And so that's kind of like what I bring to the table, and you can probably like feel my fearlessness and integrity.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah. You're the expert.
I've done the work.
Yeah.
I lead my students with confidence because I've done the work myself and I know what it takes.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go back to your 5 certifications. Take us through those and what each modality, if it is or whatnot, what that provides.
So, okay, so let's do it this way. Because the certifications are so broad in so many different,
Sure.
I would like to give our listeners a idea of what to look for when they're going out there trying to do some yoga, right?
Perfect.
So the most popular yoga that you're gonna find out there is something called vinyasa, and it's rooted in the Ashtanga lineage, and it's very like strong and powerful, and you have the push-ups and up dog and down dog, and then you go from one pose to the other. That's really good for young people, for like in their 20s or 30s, or if you're an athlete, I mean, you could be in your 40s and 50s and still be very fit and strong.
Sure.
If you have no injuries, because that moves very fast. The next one that I would say you'll find out there often is Hatha yoga. And that's kind of what I teach. That's the foundational of my yoga teacher certification programs, and that's the foundation of my 90-day awakening and empowerment program. And that is the same poses, but they're done a little bit more methodically. They're done slower way. You hold them for a little bit, which allows you to kind of work on alignment, make sure you're doing it right. It also allows you to just be present and still. Some people find that boring. Like they're like, oh, what's the point of being here? And a lot of times that depends on the teacher and the way that they're leading the class and their ability to communicate the why behind
Exactly.
the you're doing.
Yeah.
And I find that's very, very helpful for people who have injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, back injuries, shoulder injuries. You're probably looking for a Hatha yoga class because it moves a little bit slower and it's not a workout. You're not going to sweat, but it will give you that chance to go within and really feel grounded and centered.
And stability. It sounds like really work on your stability.
Yes, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So that's the second one. The third one is out there in the yoga world, they kind of intermingle yin yoga and restorative yoga. Technically, they're two completely different things, but the flavor of the class is similar. And so that's the yoga where you go and you kind of just, mostly it's on the ground and mostly it's a lot of stretching, and you stay in a pose depending on what you're doing from somewhere between 3 to like 15 or 20 minutes. So yin yoga is usually 3 to 5 minutes, and then restorative yoga that's more supportive without stretch could go up to like 20 minutes a pose. That's really good for people with heart conditions, for pregnant women. This is really good if you're really trying to calm your mind and get to a meditative state. It's really good if you want to do your practice, you want to do your yoga, but you're just exhausted after a long day's work. And you put yourself into some of these positions, you will be surprised how energizing and refreshing they are. Just the stillness of it all. And the next one that I'll mention is hot yoga, in a hot room. And traditionally that comes from a lineage called Bikram, and he had 26 poses and they were all the same. And then what happened is people started to take the heat and put it on top of the vinyasa and on top of the ashtanga, and they created like a mishmash of and now everything is just yoga in a hot room. I would say if you again, it depends on your system.
Yeah, I'd die. I couldn't make it through that one, but that's okay.
All have different balances in regards to our elements. Some of us are more earthy and grounded. Some of us are more flowy and watery. Some of us are more airy and tend to just kind of go wherever the takes us. Some of us are very fiery. And so depending on where you are in that spectrum and what your constitution is, hot yoga can actually bring you to a balanced place, or you could actually put too much fire in the system and create more problems. So it kind of depends on what the right thing is for you. Those are the 4 that I think I like to mention. I'm certified on all of them. The 5th certification was on something else, like an addition.
That's great.
Other stuff.
Yeah.
But love them all. I've done them all. I've practiced them all. I love them all.
Yeah, and I do too. I love them all as well. And I won't try the hot yoga only because I know like I am like Viking spirit. I'm like from the cold ocean. Like I need to be I can't be overheated I get so easily overheated. So that's too bad. But like you said, who knows? I don't know that it might bring some kind of balance that I've never had before either. So we never know. We'll have to look into that. That's exciting. Well, where can we find you online and your social medias?
So you can find me at sarahco.com. So it's Sarah with an H, and then my last name, which is CEO, sarahco.com. And I have a wonderful group community in Facebook. It's called Women Awakening Together, a community for women on a spiritual path. So if you go to my website, look at the bottom, you'll find the Facebook link. And I'm on all the other social medias as well, but mostly on this one is where I post all of my stuff. I have tons of free resources for you guys, like free videos and guides. I have a whole YouTube channel and all of it. So
I've done a few of your yogas that have come up in the past, a few of your videos. So yeah. I didn't even know that until we got on together, and then you were like yoga, and I was like, wait, I remember seeing these and opening them up and doing a few. So yay. That's exciting, right? A small world when you're like, now I'm a fangirl. No, I'm just kidding. It's exciting. I'm so glad that we could connect today and support you and your business. It's so important to help people reconnect within and go within and find peace, because that is what helps bring outer peace as well. And the more we help people understand that, the better hopefully our communities and generations can grow from that. And one thing I just kept saying in my mind for a lot of people who might be listening, who might have body aches and pains, the thing, I'm also a massage therapist, like I had told Sarah earlier, and the thing that they always taught us was movement is life. And when you're in pain, the best thing you can do for yourself is do yoga, is connect with your body, and find out how you can bring I guess relaxation, or I'm trying to think of the right word, but yeah, it's so true. And you'll hear people, oh no, my back hurts, I can't do yoga. No, that's exactly why you should do it. Isn't that true?
Under the right guidance, like that.
Of course, yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, thank goodness you said that, because that is so true too. And knowing your where you can go, knowing your balances, knowing where it's too much is too much, and things like that. So yeah, but hopefully for our healthy, listeners that love to be healthy and stay healthy, this sounds so perfect for somebody that's going through that. And I love that you have the experience in young groups to older groups, and that's really, really important to embrace the whole community, is to get all those different age groups, right, and genres. So good job. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'll make sure to have all the links down in the description so we know where to find you, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.